Life whispers before it screams. The lessons we refuse to hear today return tomorrow with sharper teeth. To ignore wisdom is to invite misery. To turn away from truth is to walk willingly into darkness. We are not punished by life, but by our own neglect of its teachings. Happiness is not lost. It is left behind every time we repeat old mistakes. If you wish to live forever in chains, then close your ears to these lessons. But if you wish to rise, if you wish to breathe freely, then listen, because the cost of ignorance is misery, and the reward of awareness is freedom. Life repeats its lessons until we choose to learn them. This truth is both a warning and a gift. When we fail to understand the meaning behind our struggles, life does not simply let us walk away. It circles back, presenting the same challenge in a new disguise, a fresh circumstance, or a different face. Some people call it bad luck, others call it fate, but in reality, it is a pattern woven by our own resistance to growth. Each unlearned lesson returns, and with every return, the voice of life grows louder, the consequences heavier, and the discomfort sharper. This is not punishment but persistence. A waking yourself up from the sleep of ignorance. Think of the person who never learns to value patience. They may lose friendships, then jobs, then relationships, all because impatience drives them into repeated conflict. Or the one who refuses to face the truth of self-discipline. They waste time, miss opportunities, and fall behind. Not because life has cursed them, but because they ignored the earlier whispers of responsibility. The lesson was there in every small failure, every disappointment, every quiet regret. But until it is embraced, it will return, like a shadow that never leaves. Life is a teacher that refuses to graduate us until we truly understand. If we do not learn kindness, we will keep meeting situations where cruelty destroys peace. If we do not learn gratitude, we will continue to feel empty, even when surrounded by abundance. If we do not learn courage, we will remain trapped in fear, watching opportunities pass us by again and again. The classroom is endless, but the subjects remain the same, repeating themselves until the student is ready to listen. The beauty in this cycle is that every repetition is another chance. The lesson does not vanish when we fail. It patiently waits for us to recognize it. We are given test after test, and though the questions may look different, the answers are always leading us back to the same truth. Life's persistence is proof that growth is possible at any moment we choose it. The moment we accept what we once resisted, the chain breaks, and the lesson no longer needs to repeat. The storm that once felt like punishment suddenly feels like preparation. The pain that seemed endless reveals itself as a teacher. And in that moment of recognition, misery fades, because we finally chose to learn what life had been trying to teach all along. Pain ignored becomes misery multiplied. Pain is not the enemy, it is the signal. It is life tapping on the shoulder, asking us to notice what is broken, what is missing, or what is out of balance. When we ignore it, when we silence it with distraction or bury it beneath denial, it does not disappear. It waits. It grows. It transforms into something heavier, something that lingers, something that turns days into burdens and nights into unrest. What begins as a whisper in the heart becomes a roar in the soul when it is left unanswered. A small discomfort unattended can harden into deep suffering. The hurt from betrayal, if not faced, becomes mistrust of everyone. The sting of failure, if not embraced, becomes fear of trying again. The ache of loneliness, if not understood, becomes bitterness toward connection itself. Pain unattended writes its story into every corner of our lives until misery becomes the background music to our days. It is never the pain that destroys us. It is our refusal to acknowledge its message. When a wound is left untreated, it festers. So too does emotional or spiritual pain. Life offers us these sharp moments not to break us, but to direct us. The frustration is asking us to change. The sorrow is asking us to heal. The emptiness is asking us to seek meaning. But instead of listening, many turn away, convincing themselves that ignoring pain is strength. Yet strength is not found in suppression. It is found in confrontation. Strength is the courage to face the storm, to walk into the fire of discomfort, and to emerge purified by the lessons it held. Those who refuse to face pain often find themselves circling the same struggles, carrying the same bitterness, speaking the same complaints year after year. Misery becomes a habit, not because life is cruel, but because healing was delayed. Ignoring pain is like locking a wild animal in a small cage. It will not disappear. It will grow restless, loud, and destructive until it can no longer be contained. But the miracle of pain is that the moment we face it, it begins to soften. The moment we lean into it, we find the lessons hidden beneath its sting. Pain transforms into wisdom. Scars turn into maps of survival, and suffering becomes the soil where resilience is born. Pain ignored is misery multiplied, but pain embraced is freedom discovered. Wisdom is not hidden, it's neglected. The truths that guide a meaningful life are not buried in unreachable places or locked away in secret books. They are present in every sunrise, in every conversation, in every moment of silence we choose to observe. Life is constantly offering wisdom in small doses, but often we are too distracted, too busy, or too stubborn to see it. People chase after complicated answers, hoping that the key to peace, success, or happiness lies in some distant philosophy, when in reality, wisdom has always been near, waiting to be acknowledged. Every mistake carries a lesson. Every failure whispers advice. Every success holds a reminder. And every person we meet reflects some part of truth back to us. While neglect turns wisdom into noise. When the heart is closed, even the simplest truths sound complicated. When the mind is arrogant, even the clearest lesson is dismissed. The problem is not that wisdom is absent, but that attention is elsewhere. We trade reflection for distraction, silence for noise, and awareness for routine, and in doing so, we walk past the very guidance we are seeking. Consider how often the same truths are spoken across generations. That patience brings peace, that honesty sustains trust, that gratitude creates joy, that love heals wounds. These are not hidden secrets. They are ancient echoes repeated in countless forms. Yet people continue to neglect them, searching instead for shortcuts or temporary comforts. This neglect is what keeps life complicated, because when the obvious is ignored, we end up lost in endless detours. Wisdom is not a matter of discovery, but of recognition. It asks us to pause, to observe, to reflect. It reveals itself in the lessons of elders, in the innocence of children, in the stillness of nature, and even in the struggles we endure. To neglect it is to keep walking in circles, blaming fate for the repetition of suffering. To embrace it is to step onto the straight path, where clarity resides. Neglect has a cost. When wisdom is overlooked, mistakes repeat, relationships crumble, opportunities vanish, and peace remains elusive. But the beauty is that wisdom never leaves. It waits patiently, like a light in the dark, ready to guide whenever we decide to look. It does not demand perfection. It only asks for attention. Once we begin to notice it, life feels less like chaos and more like a conversation, where every experience becomes a teacher and every moment becomes a chance to grow. Wisdom is not hidden. It is simply waiting for us to finally listen. Happiness is not found. It is built through choices. Too often, people wander through life as if joy is a treasure buried somewhere far away, waiting to be discovered. They imagine it lies in wealth, in achievements, in possessions, or in the approval of others. But happiness is not a prize at the end of a race. It is the road we pave each day with the choices we make. Every thought, every action, every response is a brick laid on the path toward fulfillment or frustration. To wait for happiness is to wait forever, because it does not come. It is created. The small decisions shape the larger feeling of life. Choosing gratitude over complaint builds a heart that sees abundance where others see lack. Choosing kindness over bitterness creates connections that nourish the soul. Choosing discipline over indulgence leads to growth that strengthens confidence. Each of these choices may seem small in the moment, but together they construct the foundation upon which true happiness rests. People often search for one grand event that will change everything. But happiness is not born in a single moment. It is cultivated in the consistency of daily choices. Those who believe happiness is found outside themselves are often trapped in endless dissatisfaction. They reach one milestone and immediately search for another. They acquire one possession and quickly desire something more. They gain recognition, yet still feel the emptiness linger. This is because happiness built on external outcomes is fragile, easily shaken by circumstances beyond control. But happiness built on inner choices is steady, for it is not tied to what happens, but to how we respond. Life will never be free of hardship. Challenges, losses, and uncertainties will always appear. Yet even in difficulty, the power of choice remains. One can choose resilience over despair, growth over stagnation, hope over defeat. In doing so, happiness becomes less of an emotion and more of a state of being, one that does not crumble when storms arrive. The truth is simple but profound. Happiness is built like a home, brick by brick, through intention and awareness. It is not a hidden key we must find, but a garden we must tend. The more carefully we choose, the richer the harvest becomes. And when we look back, we will see that joy was never waiting at the end of the path. It was growing beneath our feet with every step we chose to take. Growth begins the moment we stop pretending we already know. The greatest barrier to wisdom is not ignorance, but the illusion of knowledge. When the mind is closed by pride, when the heart is sealed by arrogance, no new truth can enter. To pretend that we already understand everything is to lock ourselves in a room with no windows, repeating the same mistakes, recycling the same thoughts, and wondering why nothing changes. Growth is not born from certainty. It is born from curiosity, from humility, from the courage to admit that we still have much to learn. Every experience carries a lesson, but only the open mind can receive it. The child learns because they do not yet assume they know. The wise continue to learn because they never assume they are finished. But those who cling to the comfort of appearing knowledgeable remain stuck, trapped by the very image they wish to protect. They fear the embarrassment of being wrong more than they desire the freedom of being right. In that fear, growth dies. Life is generous with its teachers. Failure is a teacher, success is a teacher, suffering is a teacher, and joy is a teacher. But when we pretend to know, we dismiss them all. Instead of asking what failure is showing us, we hide from it. Instead of seeking the deeper meaning in joy, we consume it carelessly. Because we close the door with the words, I already know. And so life, persistent as always, brings the same lessons back until we are willing to humble ourselves enough to receive them. Growth begins with surrender. The surrender of ego, the surrender of false certainty, the surrender of the need to appear wise. It is a quiet acknowledgement that truth is larger than us, and that no matter how much we have seen, there is always more to see. The world is vast, human hearts are complex, and the list is such far beyond the borders of our current understanding. To believe we have already mastered it is to shrink life into a narrow box and call it complete. The moment we stop pretending, doors open. Conversations become richer, experiences become deeper, failures transform into lessons, and even the smallest events reveal treasures of meaning. Growth does not demand perfection. It only asks for honesty. The honesty to admit that we are still students of life. In that admission lies freedom, for it is the humble mind that expands, the listening heart that understands, and the open soul that truly grows.